Happy Rusev Day, everyone. Welcome to NoDQ video here on NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel, youtube.com/AaronRift_NoDQ. I would like to take a quick moment and thank everyone for voting in the categories for the 2017 NoDQ.com Hall of Fame. Congratulations to the 2017 class, which is now revealed on NoDQ.com. Andre the Giant is in it this year, AJ Styles, Lita, Paul Heyman, and D-Generation X. So again, thank you guys for voting. You can check out the full results over at NoDQ.com. Now, with that being said, let's get down to your questions. First one today comes from Dave Lesnar, and I think he'll like my answer to this question. Do you think the rumors about Batista returning are true? What's the point though when fans like Jeff don't like him? If he's Hollywood Batista, aka 2010 Batista, will it work? Are you in favor of possible opponents? I am in favor of it. Let me just make that clear. I would like to see Batista come back for one final run. Let him have a proper final run. It felt like that 2014 run did not live up to the potential. And maybe part of that was due to the backlash from fans over Batista winning the Royal Rumble. Batista, yes, I think it was a good idea to bring him back as a babyface, but the timing was off with Daniel Bryan's rising popularity. In the end, though, I think Batista is better as a heel. I would like to see a heel Batista, spotlight and all, 2010 Batista versus Brock Lesnar. I think that's one big dream match for WrestleMania we haven't seen yet. I'm not interested in seeing Batista versus Triple H again. I think that match has been done to death. However, Batista and Brock Lesnar, Beast versus Beast, Beast versus Animal, I should say. That is the match I think WWE should do for WrestleMania. Instead of Reigns versus Lesnar, instead of Batista versus Triple H, I say do heel Batista versus babyface Brock Lesnar for WrestleMania. I think it's a great matchup. They both have the similar size and strength, and it's just two bulls locking horns. It's a great fight. As Gorilla Monsoon would say, it's the irresistible force meeting the immovable object. That's how I see that match. I'm all for that. So if Batista's coming back, I say do that match. This one comes from Haven670. I know you're not a fan of it, but with the recent call-ups, does a women's Rumble match seem more likely for next year? Like I said on NoDQ Live, I think if WWE's going to do it, now is the time. Bringing in all these women from NXT makes sense if you're going to be doing a women's Royal Rumble match. So yes, I think now is a good time to do it, even though I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of it. I get it. WWE's doing this women's revolution. WWE wants to break all this new ground, so I guess every men's match is going to be done with the women now. Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber, everything. It's going to be done with the women eventually. Maybe not in the immediate future, but within the next couple of years, it looks like WWE is going to have the women participate in these men's matches. Right now, with all the extra women from NXT, it does make sense if WWE is going to do a women's Royal Rumble match. I don't know if that's the case or not, 100%, but it does feel like that's going to happen in the near future. And of course, there's also the talk about WWE doing a women's Elimination Chamber match this year, which might be overkill. It might be better to spread it out a little bit, rather than do a women's Royal Rumble match followed by an Elimination Chamber match. But that's just my opinion. If it was me, I would spread it out a little bit. This one comes from Michael J. Hey Aaron, first off, happy birthday. Thank you for that. Aside from a women's Royal Rumble with such a large roster, could you see WWE creating an all-female show like 205 Live or an all-female pay-per-view? Maybe a female tag division too. They're just going to have women do everything, you know? They're going to conquer the entire world. Not that that's a bad thing, but I'm just going to say this. there's too much WWE programming. That's the problem. It's not anything against the women, but 205 Live as it is, it's too much programming. People ask, why is 205 Live not bringing in the numbers despite the cruiserweights being really talented? And my answer is, it's too much programming. WWE, the product is oversaturated. With the network, there's just so much content that it's hard to keep up with. And for some fans, they want to watch other things besides WWE, whether it's New Japan or Ring of Honor or just other forms of entertainment on television and movies. There's other things out there besides WWE. Yes, WWE has this very expansive universe, but there are other things out there. And I just think in general, whether it's a women's show or a hardcore wrestling show or doing a UK show, I think it's overkill. I think it's too much television. So I'm not a fan of adding more programming. Do a women's Royal Rumble. Do a women's Elimination Chamber match. But I think adding another show on top of everything else, it's too much. And there's already Total Divas, which focuses around the women. I just think it's too much. Too much television to keep up with. This one comes from the Outcast Kid. After watching Wargames, do you think the Undisputed Era could be a huge boost if called up and let loose on SmackDown? If the timing is right. Right now, I don't think it's the right time. It's way too soon to bring up Undisputed Era, but if there's a good spot for them to come in and make a huge impact, then yes. I think AJ Styles came in at the perfect time because there were a lot of injuries. Orton was out, Cena was out, Rollins was out. AJ came in at a time when WWE needed some fresh blood and they had to bring in some new people because so many of the top guys were hurt. AJ came in at the perfect time. Undisputed Era, WWE has to be careful. Don't bring them in too soon when there's not that many spots available. Wait until there's a really good storyline opportunity to bring them in. And if that's done, then I say yes, they definitely have a shot at making an impact in WWE. But if you bring them in and the roster's already overly crowded, then it's going to be harder for them to really break out and succeed in WWE. That's just my take on it. I think they're best off staying in NXT for now, and they just debuted not that long ago. I could see them being in NXT through the summer at the earliest, maybe even later than that. Maybe they will not be called up until after Survivor Series, but I would definitely keep them in NXT for the foreseeable future. This one comes from Sean T. Flick. I know you don't like the themed pay-per-views. You guys are making all sorts of assumptions about me, it's funny. But what do you think of Wargames replacing Hell in a Cell? I'm fine with pretty much anything replacing Hell in a Cell at this point. I do want to see the themed pay-per-views be done away with. Wargames, I guess I would be okay with that because back in WCW you had Fall Brawl featuring Wargames every year and it was a tradition, just like the Royal Rumble is a tradition. So I guess if you want to make Wargames a tradition, I would be okay with that. But at the same time, I do like the idea of doing Wargames when you have a good storyline reason for it. If you have two different factions that are clashing and they need to settle a score, perfect, you got Wargames. That's the way to settle the score. Rather than just say, oh, we have a Wargames pay-per-view coming up, we need to put together two teams for this pay-per-view. Just doesn't feel as organic or authentic by doing it that way. So I'm okay with it, but I would prefer just doing away with themed pay-per-views altogether, except for the Royal Rumble, of course. The Royal Rumble, it serves its purpose. It's a match that determines the main event for WrestleMania. So Royal Rumble works in its format, but the rest of the themed pay-per-views, I would just do away with. This one comes from Chris. Hey Aaron, what are the chances of The Miz breaking Chris Jericho's all-time record for the IC title reigns? And how would you rank him among the greatest IC champions? I think the chances are pretty good because The Miz has a lot of years left in his career, most likely. It's going to be all about longevity. If The Miz can stay healthy and active in WWE, then he's got several more IC title reigns ahead of him. Chris Jericho, he's winding down his career. Maybe he'll have 1 or 2 more reigns. Who knows? But The Miz seems to have more years ahead of him. Jericho's got other projects. And I think just looking at the longevity and the time and the chances of it happening, I definitely think there's a good chance Miz will break the all-time record. Where do I rank him among the greatest champions? I would say he's definitely right up there among the best IC champions of the past decade for sure. Top 5, I mean, that's definitely debatable, but I think Miz is doing a great job as IC champion. He's currently not champion, but the times he's been champion, I think he does make the belt more meaningful, and The Miz in general has just become such a great performer that he elevates pretty much anything that he touches. So whether it's the IC title or Maurice or anybody else, if you're associated with The Miz, you're going places in WWE. Got this one here from Kyle Allen. Was the Ric Flair versus Sting rivalry overrated? Are you asking me this because you personally think it's overrated? Because I don't think anybody that thought the feud was excellent would even ask this question. And I'm going to say no. I think it was an excellent feud. Arguably WCW's best feud of all time. Ric Flair and Sting had a lot of classic matches. It was just like peanut butter and jelly with Ric Flair and Sting. Ric Flair was a great villain and Sting was a great babyface. You had that Clash of the Champions match, which really kick-started Sting's career. I mean, that match made Sting a superstar. And then Great American Bash 1990, Sting winning the world title, the whole storyline with Sting being kicked out of the Horsemen. And then 1995, Ric Flair pretends to be Sting's friend and then turns against him. Going back a year before that, 94, when they had that unification match right before Hogan came in. And then it continued into the Monday Night War era. Sting and Ric Flair would continue to have matches. You could always count on them to have an entertaining match. They never had a bad match against each other because they had that chemistry. You know, sometimes you have 2 great wrestlers, but for whatever reason, they don't have the chemistry. Ric Flair and Sting had the chemistry working together, and it was magic every time they were in there. The first Nitro, the last Nitro wasn't the greatest match of all time, let's be real, but it was still Ric Flair and Sting. And, you know, when I think of WCW and great feuds in WCW, Sting and Ric Flair is right there at the top. I have to go with Sting and Flair as arguably the best feud in the history of WCW. So no, I would not call it overrated in any sense. This one comes from Tommy. Hey Aaron, I'm a new subscriber to the WWE Network. What is the one pay-per-view from the Attitude Era that you would recommend and why? I would say the Canadian Stampede pay-per-view, even though it technically was before the Attitude Era officially began, and people debate on that when it officially began. Some would say the Vince promo from December 97 when he said, you know, the fans are tired of having their intelligence insulted. Some would say it was Survivor Series with the very first Attitude Era commercial being shown in the screw job happening, of course. But by 97, I would say as early as Pillman pulling the gun on Steve Austin, that's when the Attitude Era really began to kick into high gear. 97 Canadian Stampede, one of WWE's best pay-per-views ever, and that whole Steve Austin versus Hart Foundation storyline was excellent. And that's what that pay-per-view is built around. There was only like 4 matches on that card, and the main event took up a good chunk of the time. Just an excellent show. I mean, very entertaining to watch, and I highly recommend it to anybody. Got this one here from We Want Edge. Hey Aaron, in your opinion, what age is a wrestler prime on average? From what I noticed, I say 25 to 40. Well, that's a pretty wide range. That's 15 years to say somebody's in their prime. I mean, some guys, yeah, they have 30, 40-year careers, and others might only have like a 15-year career. I would say early 30s would be the prime. You know, 25, you're young, you're still learning the business, you're still trying to figure out who you are as a character and a persona. And by 40, you know, you're a little bit broken down. You got some injuries. You do have the experience, though. Around 35 or early 30s, at that point, you have some experience and your body's still in really great shape. So I think for most people, their physical and mental peak in wrestling is going to be the early 30s. That's going to be the ideal time to push somebody and get the most longevity out of them. So I would say early 30s, you know, if I was going to narrow it down a little bit and just pick a couple of years, I'd say 33, 34, 35. This one comes from Bader the Viper. Where would you rank SummerSlam 2002 among the best WWE pay-per-views of all time? Top 5? Solid card with a fantastic match and chemistry between HBK and Triple H. I did do a pay-per-view video a few years back with my top pay-per-views of all time, and I'm trying to remember off the top of my head where I put SummerSlam 2002. It was definitely top 5. And just thinking off the top of my head here, you know, I didn't really think about this question until right now when I'm answering it here on video on the spot. It's got to be in the top 3 for me personally. Best SummerSlam of all time. To this day, I would say it's still the best SummerSlam. I think I would put it at my personal number 3. I think WrestleMania 19 is my all-time favorite pay-per-view. Either that or the 1992 Royal Rumble that Ric Flair won, and then SummerSlam would be number 3. Those would be my top 3 right there. WrestleMania 19, Royal Rumble 92, and then SummerSlam 2002. And like you said, SummerSlam 2002 was practically a perfect show. I mean, there's really no way I can criticize that show. You had great matches from start to finish. You had an excellent opening match. You had great matches in the middle, and you had great main event matches. Shawn Michaels and Triple H tore down the house. Rock and Block. I always say that, Block Lesnar. I always like to combine those two words, Brock and Lesnar, for Block Lesnar. And he kind of looks like a block. But yeah, I love that match. Very intense, very fun to watch. A star-making performance from Brock Lesnar. So yeah, that pay-per-view is great in so many ways. It's got to be top 3 for sure, for me personally. And I think most of you would put it in your top 5 for sure. This one comes from LK Pardo 18. What do you think of Paul Heyman's character today? Does he need innovation, refreshing, or would you not change it at all? Well, I really do not want to bash a NoDQ.com Hall of Famer, a brand new Hall of Famer to the NoDQ.com Hall of Fame, Paul Heyman, being inducted this year for 2017. I really do not want to criticize the guy, but I do feel that his character is a bit stale. He comes out there, he does the same promo every week. Granted, he does a tremendous job with his promo every week. His delivery is just top of the line, but it's the same thing every week. My name is Paul Heyman, and I am the representative for Brock Lesnar, the reigning, defended, undisputed champion. We've been hearing it for years now, and it does get old after a while. So I would like to see something change up. I've been arguing this for the longest time. I want to see Paul Heyman turn heel on Brock Lesnar and look at Brock Lesnar as a thing of the past and have Paul Heyman with his new client. Paul Heyman has a new beast to feud with Brock Lesnar. Somebody like a Lars Sullivan would be a great choice. Just have a new beast for Paul Heyman to represent to feud with Brock Lesnar, just to change things up a bit. That is something I would like to see. You know, the Heyman-Lesnar thing is great, but I feel like it's the same thing over and over again, and I do want to see things changed up a bit. It's nothing against Heyman. You know, he's just going out there and doing what he's told to do, and that's sell Brock Lesnar. And nobody does it better than Paul Heyman. So, you know, he's just doing what he's told to do, and he does a great job at it. I would just like to see creatively, maybe it gets changed up in the future and we could see something different that we haven't seen before. Got this one here from Mr. Yuck. Am I the only one who thinks Corey Graves is very off-putting? I wouldn't say that he's very off-putting, but I don't think he's as great as a lot of people make him out to be. I think he's a good announcer, but to say he's as good as a Bobby Heenan or a Jesse Ventura, I think he's got a long way to go. I think he's a really solid commentator, But, I mean, it's really hard to tell how good he potentially can be because he's fed a lot of stuff and he's going out there, he's told what to say. The commentators are always being told what to say in their earpieces. So it's hard to say what he could do if he had more freedom to say whatever he wanted. I think he's a good announcer, but I don't think he's a great announcer. I don't think he's there yet. He doesn't really stand out all that much. He's better than Tom Phillips, and you could argue he's better than Michael Cole, but I don't think that he really stands out as much as people say he does. That's my opinion. It might be controversial. I know a lot of people like Corey Graves. I would not vote him in for Announcer of the Year this year. I would give that to Mauro Ranallo, but that's just my personal opinion, and it is what it is. Some of you may agree, some of you may disagree. I just don't think he's at that Bobby Heenan, Jesse Ventura level, and I see that sometimes online. People are saying he's as great as Bobby Heenan. I just don't see it yet. Maybe he will one day, but right now I don't see it. That'll do it for this edition of No DQ Video. Thanks again for watching. We got the No DQ Year-End Awards voting. The categories will start going up this week on NoDQ.com, so stay tuned for that. We got the videos as usual, and check out the Hall of Fame again. Buy a t-shirt, ProWrestlingTees.com. Search No DQ or check out the link in the description box. We got several new designs up. We have a new Jeff Meacham, Now See Here's the Thing t-shirt. We have a new Jexy Rocks t-shirt. We have the red, white, and blue NoDQ.com t-shirt. And all that and more on ProWrestlingTees.com. Check that out. And you can use the code SAVE5 to get a small discount. So head over to ProWrestlingTees.com and use that code SAVE5. Pick up some shirts, and that'll do it for me. I will see you guys next time.